Greetings everyone, and welcome to my humble kitchen. By now, many of you may be weary of social distancing and working from home. Just imagine how your dog feels. Although at our school we offer day training to help alleviate your dog's boredom, today I'm going to talk to you about canine enrichment at home. There are various types of enrichment games, from seek and find to food puzzles to food toys. Today, I'm going to talk to you about mealtime enrichment. Here are some items for dry food. We have the slow feeder bowls, some food balls, and the all-time favorite, the Kong Wobbler. However, what we're going to focus on today is how to properly stuff a Kong. And we are going to make it a healthy Kong. When most people think of stuffing Kongs, and this is the end we stuff, we think of peanut butter. However, even though dogs love peanut butter, it is high in fat. So I am going to provide you with some other options. One tip to remember is the tighter you pack your Kong, the more difficult it will be for your dog to get their food out. If your dog is easily frustrated, start with a loosely packed Kong and gradually increase the intensity of the food being packed in. For a dog who loves a challenge, after filling your Kong, freeze it. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the rubber toys because not all are created equal. These two I have had for the same amount of time, similar make, and as you can see, the Kong, there are barely any teeth marks on it. If you look at this one, there are a lot of punctures. And when you see the deep punctures like this that are actually starting to split the rubber, keep in mind that your dog can break it off and they can swallow it. So anytime you see any breaks in the rubber, do not use that item for your dog. Something else to consider is this is quite a long rubber toy, and let's see, you can see it's pretty long. When you stuff it, your dog may not be able to get the food out of the middle, so keep that in mind. Don't put anything too hard in there that you can't get out because it'll make it difficult to clean. This type of Kong, you can put in a little bit of wet food, or it's mostly made for dry treats or biscuits. This is a dental Kong, and it has the ridges on the end, and it is bigger for larger dogs, and it's a little smaller in the middle, so it holds the food on the sides. And this is the Kong that everyone knows, the bright red Kong. It's an average rubber bounce and give, and it's for your average chewer. This is a senior Kong, and it is for dogs that are elderly or may have some dental issues, and it's a little easier give. These are puppy Kongs. These have very easy give. Now, any of these rubber toys can be used for any dog. It just depends on the intensity of your dog chewing. They also make a black rubber Kong for very intense chewers. I have never had to use that for my dogs. I mostly use these. Okay, so let's get to it. The types of items that we might put in a Kong. What I prefer is to use as a wet substance the canned version of your dog food. My dogs eat Natural Balance, and this is what their dry food looks like, and this is the canned food. Now, what you can do is you can take your dry kibble and add water to it to make your own like food paste, or even put the kibble in and moisten it and then freeze it that way. This is dried beef lung, and the brand that I use is this brand, and it is made and sourced in the USA, 100% natural. And when you look at the ingredients, the only ingredient is beef lung. So when you're looking for options for your dog, please look for healthy options. If you're going to put something in, like some dried cranberries, just remember that they have sugar. So 1 to 3 cranberries is usually enough enticement for your dog. Other items you can put in, just to create a variety. Sardines. Again, sardines in spring water, no salt added. This is a very healthy option for your dog. These, not quite as healthy, but they're very popular for training. They are in chicken broth, sliced Vienna sausages, chicken, beef, and pork. What I like to do if I'm going to use these is I will rinse them in water, so to try to remove some of the salt and some of the fat. You can even rinse them and soak them in water. These are my favorite additives. You can buy any brand you like. You can even buy low sodium. These are just small cans, sliced carrots, and green beans. If you teach your dog to eat vegetables when they're young, when they're older, and you need to watch their weight, they'll just be used to eating them. So excellent, healthy versions. Also, you could always put in a little unsweetened applesauce. Again, remember something that is all natural. Let's see if I can get that from real fruit and no artificial sweeteners. Because be very careful. Sometimes foods with no added sugar may contain other types of sweeteners. And for those of you who may not know, xylitol is highly poisonous to dogs. Avoid any foods with xylitol. It's very often in peanut butter. Here is another option, Stella & Chewy's Super Beef, and it is 95% beef organs and bone. And you can see what that looks like there. So sometimes we'll put this in as well. Now that we've covered that, let me open some cans and I'll be right back. Oh, before I leave, if you've noticed, what I've done to hold the Kong while I stuff it is I've put it in a muffin tin. For those of us who make stuffed peppers, this is a favorite way to do that. So, but it's a great way to stuff Kongs, especially if you're going to make more than one. Now, this is a great way to get a couple extra Kongs, and you can prepare them for the week. This Kong holds about a half a cup of food. So remember, if you're going to give your dog a Kong, you want to remove a half a cup of food from their daily portion. Okay? Hang in there, I'll be right back. Okay, I have most of my food prep done. One of the other things that I wanted to mention you can also put in a stuffed Kong is some yogurt or cottage cheese, or you could put a couple of feta or goat cheese crumbles. And I'm just going to put a few in my work area. Now, feta is very high in salt, as are cottage cheese can also be high in salt. So be cautious on how much you use, and you'll see I use it very sparingly. Yogurt, be cautious of your dog's digestive system. One of the things you want to do is prevent adding something too new or too high in fat that can cause a pancreatitis attack. That's why if you're going to put anything in here, I would only recommend you use low-fat meats. If you're going to use some chicken, make sure that it's boiled chicken or a ground chicken that has all the fat drained off. My dogs do not do well eating chicken, which is why we use beef, as in the beef chunks. So if you're going to use some ground beef, use some very lean ground beef with all the fat drained. You can even rinse it if you need to. But remember, if you're going to rinse it, use a strainer. Okay, so let's get to it. I have my setup here, and I've put it on Zoom so you can see what I have. I have some dry kibble, some carrots. You can give your dogs raw carrots. My dogs love raw carrots. Just keep in mind that they don't digest them the same way we do. If you want them to have the vitamin benefits, cooked carrots are much better. And raw carrots will come out the same way they go in, so don't be surprised when you're scooping the yard. Also green beans. Now, the other thing I do, you can use frozen vegetables and cook them. You can use frozen vegetables as is. If you're going to use a canned vegetable and you don't have the low sodium variety, make sure you rinse them off. And then I have our canned food. I have a few cranberries in here and a little bit of crumbled cheese. So now don't be surprised if you hear some whimpers and whines in the background. It's always exciting for the Surfside Sams when mom is making Kongs. Kong is going to be part of their dinner. So it will go in the fridge and it will sit and wait until dinner time. So what will I start with? The first thing I'm going to start with is at the lowest end, you want to put the good stuff. This is what they're going to have to work towards. So the top end is easy to kind of get through, but they've got to eat the top to get to the bottom. So what would make it exciting at the bottom? Well, of course, a little bit of cheese. It's smelly and it's exciting, and it's not something they get very often. Now, let's see if you can see here. You can see there's only, trying to get the camera angle. It is challenging when you're doing it yourself. Okay, there we go. You can see just a few little crumbles to fill that little hole at the bottom. So we have one done. Get some in my hand over here. I'm going to put a few little crumbles in there. I will put a few little crumbles in here. And then we'll put a few in here. All right, let's see. I need a couple bigger pieces in this one and in that one. All right, very well. Now, I'm going to put just a couple of cranberries. Remember, these are higher in sugar, so you don't want to use that many. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, why would I add cranberries? Because cranberries are high in vitamin C and they help maintain a healthy bladder so that you don't have to deal with UTIs. And so for your girls, maybe you'd want to add an extra cranberry. Other things you can put in here that I happen to not have today are blueberries. You can use cut up apple instead of applesauce. And here we go. The excitement is starting. Now, after I put the cheese and cranberries, I am going to put 1 spoonful of canned dog food and just kind of help it get in there like that. Okay. Make sure you can see me that I don't get too far off camera over here. All right. Now, of course, you can well imagine if I weren't talking and doing an instructional video, this would go much more quickly, and you'll see that you can make a week's worth of Kongs in really just 10 minutes. Okay, so we have that. And now I am going to put a few pieces of dried kibble. And basically just about that much. Let me just show you who's talking to us. Jordan, where's your face? That's Jordan over there. He was barking. He wants his Kong. Okay, let me see where I left off stuffing. All right, so I have, yes, this one I have to put some in. And put some in this one. Put a little more. Just a few more in each one. Remember, we're looking at healthy options for our dog. Okay, so now that we have a little bit of feta cheese, a little bit of cranberries, a spoonful of canned food. Whoops, somebody's trying to get my crumbs. Some dry dog kibble. Now I'm going to put some vegetables in. And you can use a spoon if you like. For me, it's just easier if I use my fingers. So if I do apologize and pardon my fingers. You're going to see how we squish it all in and make it nice and firm at the end. Okay, so we're putting some carrots in each one. Also remember, carrots can be high in sugar, so you don't ever want to give your dog too many. And as I mentioned before, these only contain, this is about half a cup of food. So that's just something to keep in mind. Let's get some green beans now. So we're going to get some green beans. And now we're going to start squishing it down. So squish in some green beans. Now, for those of you who may be concerned about your dog making a little bit of a mess, you can just put in an old rug, an old sheet down for them to eat their Kong. You can feed them in their crate if they're young and you're still crate training. Stuffed Kongs are an excellent way, and I cannot emphasize that enough, for your dog to enjoy being in their crate. Especially, this is super yummy from a dog's perspective. Okay, we got some of that in there. Now let's get this one. Get some green beans in. And you can see with these small cans, I'm pretty much going to use the whole can of green beans. Green beans are great, healthy fiber, and really can help keep your dog's weight down. Let's see how we are. Let's do a few more in here. And a few more in here. Here. And you know, there is no right or wrong. It's what your dog enjoys. Okay, so we have some of that. Now, I am going to go back. Put that in there. And let me get this. Now I'm going to get in and really start pushing that down. And if you have a small teaspoon, you can really get in there and press it down. Sorry, sliding off camera here. Let me move this up a little more. And you can see I'm working my way around the sides, pressing it in. And I'm going to work that out. And there, let's come back here, press it around the sides. That is Rhea you hear in the background. She is just, she loves her food and she loves her Kong. Okay, so where are we? Well, now we need to put a little bit more food in. Again, remember, this is going to be part of their dinner. And so we're looking at a half a cup, which is a combination of food. We have some cheese for calcium. We have some cranberries for vitamin C. Some green beans for fiber, carrots for vitamin A, some lamb and rice. And now I'm going to put in a little bit more of the canned food. And then you'll see how we top it off. And these are going to go into the fridge until their dinner time. And I know it sounds like torture, but good things are worth waiting for. Okay, let me come over here. Let's bring this over here. And if you're wondering what I'm going to do with that dried beef lung, that is going to be my little cork at the top. Where's Rhea? Let's see. Rhea's peeking up over the top over there. Okay, so put in another spoon of food. And what you don't use, just put in an airtight container, like a Tupperware or a glass container that has a lid, and you can store it in the fridge. And if you're making Kongs regularly, you will have it finished by the end of the week. Because remember, this is only 4 Kongs that I'm making, and I could have easily made 7 out of the ingredients that I have here. With your Kongs, make sure that after your dog eats their food, you remove any debris. I always like to rinse them. And then they can go on the top shelf of your dishwasher. You can also give it a bounce, and that helps settle everything. There we go, a little more food in there. Pack it down. Oh, you know, I was trying to cover everything that I normally put in the Kong, and I forgot baby carrots. I will see if we still have any in the fridge, and that will also work very nicely to top off your Kong. Okay, so we have that. Let's just kind of scrape this up. I guess I should have had music playing in the background. It might seem kind of quiet and boring here. I was just focusing on what we're going to get in our Kongs. A little more. Now, I could have cut a lot of this out, but I think it's important for you to see the whole process. This is something that I talk about in my orientations. I talk about it in puppy class. I talk about it in basic class. Basically, I talk about filling Kongs all the time. So I thought you would enjoy seeing me do it. So we talked about feeding a Kong at meal times, but what does that mean? Well, it means that you can give it to your dog after they've eaten their dry kibble, which you can put their kibble in a fun feeder. Ria's waiting in the background. Or you can give your dog a Kong while you are eating dinner. So you might want to give them their dry food in the fun feeder and then a stuffed Kong while you're eating. If you want to teach your dog not to beg at the table, then the best thing to do is to give them a pacifier. This will also help your dog when you are cooking in the kitchen. If you notice, I will pan around. Let's see. Let me turn around. We have some very hungry faces. One more in the back. No one is jumping on the counter or trying to steal anything. And that is because they have learned that if they wait patiently, it will come to them. One of the things I did while I was teaching them when they were puppies is that if they waited next to me at the counter, they would have something like a stuffed Kong to work on. So I could give them their Kong, they would lie quietly next to me, and I could proceed with cooking. So I'm going to put a baby carrot. I did have some baby carrots, locally sourced, and I'm going to stuff a baby carrot in there, and I'm going to take some of this beef lung and squish that in. And maybe take another little piece over here. Just fit it in anywhere it can go. Just like that. And we've got some good pieces in there. Okay, so we'll take another baby carrot here. Put in some beef lung. Let's take a little piece of beef lung. Stick that in the side. And you can see that from a dog's point of view, this is going to be very appetizing. Oops, we lost our carrot there, which is now being eaten. So time to go for another one. I will just plunger that right there. Again, I want to repeat that there aren't massive quantities in these Kongs. You know, there are a few pieces of cheese, a few pieces of cranberries, some dog kibble, some green beans, some cooked carrots, canned dog food, fresh carrot, beef lung. And I have one more. Bring that over here. This guy looks like a little face here. All right, let's get one more carrot. Here we go. We'll put in a couple of pieces of beef lung. And now this whole tray is going to go in the fridge, and I'm going to let it sit for 2 hours, and then we'll be ready for dinner time. So bon appetit, manja, and have a wonderful afternoon.